Yeah, mine's off.
Mine's on silent, I believe.
Okay.
Okay, I'm gonna hit record.
It's going. Don't touch anything. Sorry. Oh, there. Yeah.
Uh-oh.
Okay, I'm going to roll. Is that okay with the man of the house?
Yeah, fire away.
Hi folks, I'm Luke Ford and I'm here with Ariella, a favorite singer of mine, and we've just been talking off camera about her life as a singer. So Ariella, when you were a kid, what did you want to be when you grew up?
I wanted to be a famous singer. Not just a singer, a famous singer.
Since what age?
I think since I could speak, but I remember distinctly around 4.
Wow.
4 or 5-ish.
When did you learn to speak?
When did I learn to speak?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
I don't know.
When did you start singing?
So my mother tells me that when I was a baby, I would stand up in my crib around midnight and start cooing and making oohs and ah sounds. And my grandmother would say, Club Ariella's open. And so ever since then. And then when I was in the car seat in the back of the car, my other grandmother would hum in the front seat, and I would repeat verbatim the notes that she sang.
Wow. So what do you think underlies the desire to be a singer? Is it the creativity? Is it the expression? What is it?
It's all of those, but it's this thing inside of me that I can't really describe that makes me feel like that's what I'm on earth to do.
Right.
I guess for me it's the number one way to express myself.
So how did the world around you react to your desire to be a famous singer? Did they go, oh yeah, Ariella, that's the greatest thing, let's get you lessons and let's nurture and praise and come to your concerts, and or did they say, you should be a biologist, I don't know.
Engineer. Well, I didn't tell people I wanted to be a famous singer.
Right.
I just told people I wanted to be a singer, and so that was nurtured. And I grew up in Minnesota and near Minneapolis in the suburbs, and there's really good choral programs there. So from a very young age, I was taught really well how to sing properly, how to blend with other people, and so it was just sort of natural for me to have good teachers and good motivators.
Was there any singers on TV or film or who inspired you when you were a kid?
Yes, I liked pop singers such as Paula Abdul and Celine Dion and Mariah Carey. And the kind of singers I like now are so different, but that's who I liked.
What was it about them that inspired you?
They had cool videos, like dancing and and I think back then the expression was a little more out there, a little more creative than it is now. It's definitely out there and creative now, but I think people were okay being goofy, more so. And I just liked how fun their videos were and how great the dancing went with the singing and all of that.
So what type of music did you most enjoy singing when you were a kid?
I enjoyed singing in choir. I was a choir geek and proud of it.
Right.
And then I grew up at the synagogue, and the cantors sang this gorgeous cantorial music, and that touched me very deeply. That touched my soul in a way that I couldn't quite explain. And from a very young age, in addition to wanting to be a famous singer, I also wanted to be a cantor.
Now, I think most of the time I find synagogue services really boring, but you got a lot out of them when you were a kid, or just some of the services?
I think, like, for me, it wasn't so much the English readings or...
Yeah, those are always inspiring. And now the watchword of our faith. Let us say the Shema.
All rise. You may be seated. No, it was the music.
Inspiring.
It wasn't even what the words meant, because it was all very patriarchal, and I'm a woman, but it was like the melodies that were so ancient. And so the cantor that I had, he sounded kind of like the Phantom of the Opera. He had this rich, dark voice, and I thought it was so beautiful. And then as I was growing up, there was a female cantor who came in, and her voice sounded like honey. It was so pure, and it was like, I want to be like them. So they were kind of my vocal role models.
How big of a role does singing play in Judaism?
Huge, because like most religions, music is part of ceremony, and ceremony is part of Judaism.
Right. So there's a precept in more traditional forms of Judaism that the sound of a woman's voice is arousing, and therefore there are various restrictions on that. What do you think about that?
I'm glad you asked that, because I actually studied with a Chabad rabbi's wife for a few years, just that, because it pissed me off royally that my religion, like the most traditional form of my religion, I couldn't sing in front of people. And we sort of agreed to disagree that this is just, the woman's voice is very sensual. It can be very sensual. It can be very deep and intense, but then so can a man's voice. But it's not always equal. I don't think that it's looked at as that the woman's role and the man's role is equal. They're different. And from an empowered way, you could say that they're equal and different. So I guess it's just how you look at it. But it was hard for me wanting to become more religious at one point and not being able to sing, and I think that was the main thing that kept me from becoming more religious. And they said, well, you can sing for women, and I'm like, no, I want to sing for everybody. And so I respect it, and I do understand the motivations behind it, but I think that a lot of women and men are missing out on something, which is one of the truest forms of expression is sort of silenced. And so, again, I respect it, but I don't agree.
Now, you weren't raised Orthodox, so you had freedom to explore whatever you wanted to explore as far as singing.
Yeah, I was raised conservative, and I just became much more devout than my parents were. I was such a serious little girl, so of course my religion was like a thing to study.
When did you get into your religion?
I went to Hebrew school.
Right.
And so as I was going there, I got into it. And then in college, I started a Jewish a cappella group, which was men and women, and we sang a lot of Hebrew and Yiddish music. And I studied with different rabbis from all different Jewish backgrounds, and just really got into the learning and the Torah study and the text study and all of that.
And when did you realize that there was a profound tension between at least the traditional expressions of your religion and what you wanted to do artistically?
When I was more involved in Chabad and studying with the Chabad rabbi's wife, who's still a dear friend to this day.
Right. So college?
It's college, yeah. Actually, they did an article on me for my college newspaper, and I was on the front page, and it said, "Student sings to honor her faith." And they interviewed the rabbi at Hillel, which he was a Reform rabbi, and they interviewed her, Sarah, because she was someone from the Orthodox community that knew me really well. And she basically said that it's not her way, but she respects me greatly and knows that I would be an amazing cantor. And that was really, really nice.
So when did you begin leading services in front of a congregation?
I think in high school. I think because I was so musical, I learned all of the tefillot, the prayers, really well. Most people who study for their bar and bat mitzvah, learn what they need to learn, do it, and then forget it all. I, on the other hand, learned more than I needed to learn, remembered it all, and started teaching right after. And so the cantor in 10th grade, when I was confirmed, gave me a very, very hard piece of music that most people learn when they're in cantorial school, and said, "Here, go for it." So I started about 10th grade.
And so a lot of Jewish actors and artists have made their living for years tutoring bar mitzvah students. So
It is